Well, we're in the third part of the series titled Rooted, and the entire series will focus on Jesus teaching us how to pray. What we've been looking at is what's called the Lord's Prayer. Maybe you've heard it before, maybe you even have it memorized, or maybe it was on a painting up on your grandparents' wall. But Jesus never said, you must say these words. In fact, Jesus was giving us the how, the framework to teach us what prayer really looks like. In fact, he starts by telling us how to address God. He goes, our Father, God, eternal Father, close, present, personal, in heaven, everywhere, eternal. Hallowed be your name, that you are holy, that you are set apart. God, your kingdom come, your reign, your rule, both here, present, and forevermore. Both here where we can experience and, well, it's yet to come. Your will be done. God, your will. God, we're going to look at you as you lead and guide. On earth as it is in heaven. You see, your prayer life, my prayer life, is what keeps us rooted. So when the hurricane force winds of life come crashing in, and they do, we can stand tall. When we go through seasons of just emotional and mental drought, we will not wither and fade away. And so we've developed such a great resource for you because, again, we want to help teach you how to pray. And you can simply go to tcconline.tv/rooted, or in fact, you can text the word rooted to 833-709-0962, and we'll just send you the link. But again, this self-guided prayer tool is not just for this series. In fact, we're going to keep this anchored to our website, so that if you need to come back to it, it'll be there. Or maybe, just maybe, when you're in a conversation with a friend and they start talking about prayer and they have questions, or they're confused, or they're kind of disillusioned, or they've tried it and it hasn't worked, you can say, hey, I got a great resource. And then you walk with them through this. In fact, we want to keep this up for years to come. Again, for you, but also as God connects you with someone so you can walk with them so that they can be rooted. Well, before we jump into the last part of this prayer, I just want to highlight the fact that you have people praying for you. You've been hearing from some of the people part of our war room, and I just want you to know, they're praying for our churches, they're praying for our pastors, our leaders, our teams. They're praying for you. We got people everywhere praying. I just want you to know that. The people are going to God to say, hey, God, we just want you to move in people's lives. We want you to move through our communities. We want you to guide and protect our churches. And I hope that just encourages you that you're not alone. The people that you may know or may never know are constantly, consistently praying for you. Well, Jesus is going to kind of turn the corner on how to pray. Again, the first part is so important as he frames up. But then he gets to the second part. And, well, if you're like me, the second part is usually, especially this first line, is where we usually spend most of our prayer time. But it's important to, again, start at the beginning. And so all of a sudden, Jesus develops this framework as he guides into, this. He says, give us today our daily bread. My first time I ever went to Israel, our guide, his name was Andre, and Andre was born and raised in Jerusalem, and he's a Christ follower. It was such a cool experience listening to, well, just the culture in which he was raised and how he's lensed it through, well, Jesus. But one of the things that he kept on saying over and over again is we have to study the Bible, especially the New Testament portion, the story about Jesus and the launch of the church through Jewish lenses. The more we can understand the Jewish culture and the Jewish landscape and the Jewish faith, the more we really understand, well, everything that Jesus taught and Paul wrote to churches and Peter and John, and the list goes on. And so every time he would be teaching or someone would ask the questions, he would talk about these Jewish lenses. In fact, in this moment, Jesus is teaching Jews how to pray. And when he said, give us today our daily bread, every person sitting there would have lensed through one of the greatest, bread deliveries ever. You see, our God, when the Israelites were wandering through the desert, he made sure that they had manna, unleavened bread, every day. And for the Sabbath, the day before, they got a double portion. So they had enough for the Sabbath day. See, God every day provided for the Israelites. Every day he provided manna, bread, every day. They never went out. And so when Jesus said, hey, give us today our daily bread through those Jewish lenses, everyone was like, oh yeah, we remember that story. That God was faithful. That God provided. That God was there. And Jesus is like, hey, trust that God's going to provide for your daily needs. In part 2, we quickly looked at, this thought that Jesus teaches. Actually, it's all part of this one set teaching that we're pulling the Lord's Prayer from. In Matthew chapter 7, Jesus said, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. He goes on to say, for whoever asks receives, whoever seeks will find, and whoever knocks, the door will be open. It's such a power visual. But here's what happens. So many times in our prayer life, I'm talking for me, and I'm sure this might be true for you. We spend so much time asking, hey, God, I need. Hey, God, I need. Hey, God, I need. Hey, God, I need. And we should ask. But so many times we never get to the seeking and the knocking. And Jesus said, yeah, ask. Be specific. He goes, hey, whoever asks will receive. But then he goes, but those who seek finds. You see, sometimes God wants to take us on a journey because it's along the path where our faith gets stretched. It's along the path where our trust deepens. It's along the path where it forces our eyes to stay focused on him. Sometimes God's going to say, hey, go on a journey with me because there's someone else I'm going to intersect in your life, and that person needs to be part of your story. Sometimes the seeking is for you, and sometimes that seeking is for someone else that God is doing something within their life. Sometimes God says, hey, you got to go seek. And then Jesus goes, knock. Think about this. Sometimes God wants us to walk up to a door that's closed. An obstacle we feel like is too big, an opportunity that we just don't think is realistic. The God says, hey, walk up to it. Even if you think it won't open, knock. Just maybe that door is the door I want you to go through. So many times I think God is trying to get his will done through you, through me, and we just won't go seek and we just won't go knock. We keep asking, and in all reality, what God is saying to you and to me is like, okay, I've heard you, so go seek. Maybe that seeking is about calling a trusted friend, putting your pride down and reaching out to someone and say, hey, I need some help here. Maybe the seeking is sitting down with your life group and just sharing with them what you're asking and what you've been praying for and bringing them into it. Maybe the seeking is pushing through a pathway that you don't want to go down, but somewhere down deep within you, you know God is saying, come on, step out in faith. Maybe God is answering your asking by saying, hey, Knock on the impossible door. The door you think will never be opened. Because God wants you to go through that door. You see, this was so important for Jesus that he tells this illustration. He goes on, he goes, hey, which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? And if you're a parent, a grandparent, you would never even think about doing that. Your son, your daughter ask for bread. I mean, right, you're just not going to hand them a stone. And he goes on, he goes, or if he asks for a fish, we'll give him a snake. It's ridiculous, right? And then Jesus says this. He goes, if you then, though you are evil, remember, this is all part of Jesus teaching us how to pray. And he goes, hey, remember, our Father in heaven, hallowed, set apart, holy. That God is the definition of holy. And guess what? You and I are compared to God. Yeah, we're all evil. We're all sinful. We're all broken and messy inside. And Jesus said, hey, goes, if you then, though you're evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more? Think about that. How much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? Our Father. Close, present, personal in heaven. It's like, God's a good dad. He wants to provide for your needs. So ask, seek, knock. Now in part 2, we looked at this formula, and the formula looked like this. Over and over again, Jesus himself taught, hey, ask and you will receive. Jesus' brother James wrote about this as well. I mean, the Bible is filled with moments of the prayers about asking. And that's why we come back to Matthew 7. It's not just asking. There's an ask, and then there's a seek, and then there's a knock. And where we landed in part 2 was there was a missing part to this formula. Yes, the Bible is very clear. Yes, Jesus was very clear that we should ask. But the missing part of the formula is God's will. God's will. Remember, the power of prayer isn't having God align his will to our will, but the power of prayer is aligning our will to God's. And when you think about this is how to pray, where does a give us today our daily bread come in this framework? Was it first? Did Jesus right away ask? No. Where in this framework? Well, it comes after our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Then Jesus says ask. You see, we need to put God's will first, then get to the asking. Because you see, when we focus in on God's will, he starts to shape what we ask for. When we're focused on God's kingdom come, here on this earth and forevermore, when we start to lend through God, here now, on the move, working through his church, so all people will know the love of his Son and what his Son did for everyone. You see, when we put God's will first, it starts to shape what we ask for. It starts to guide what we seek. When we start with God's will first, no matter how big the door is in front of us, we still knock if God says knock. You see the storyline throughout the entire Bible. And I tell you, when you start with God's will first, this gets really exciting. We got to expect God to move in unexpected ways. I mean, if you would just take time to start reading through the Bible, just with this in focus, it will transform your prayer life and your faith journey. You see, so easy, just go to God and we ask God and we tell God and we prescribe to God what we want him to do. But when we start with God's will first and say, hey, God, I just want to be faithful and follow you, then we start to expect God to do unexpected things in our lives. I mean, I love the moment and when all the people were hungry and the disciples wanted to send the people away and Jesus like, let's feed them. The disciples, Jesus' inner circle, were like, hey, we don't have any food. And then all of a sudden Jesus, well, there's a boy with a lunch. Unexpected. I think about when God was raising up a king for Israel. The runt, the shepherd boy, God said, choose him. You see, we can go over and over and over again throughout the storyline of the Bible, and we just continually see God do the unexpected. And when you start your prayer life with God's will be done, then you move into asking, seeking, and knocking. I'm just telling you, you start looking for the unexpected. You start expecting God to do the unexpected. And as soon as you start experiencing that, you're talking about your faith, watch it expand and grow as you follow in God's footsteps. And Jesus said, give us today our daily bread. And then he says, and forgive us our debts. That word debts simply means sin. You see, part of prayer is, well, going to God for our sin. And you might be wondering, well, why do you have to go to God to ask him to forgive our sin? If Jesus died on the cross to forgive us our sin, like, do we just need to go through all of that? And yes, we do. Why? Well, the first reason why is there's something about just facing our sin. God understands this. You see, we as human beings, we're so good at pointing out everyone else's sins, aren't we? Yes, we all are. In fact, not only are we really, really gifted at pointing out other people's sins, we like to point out one or two sins that we don't deal with and shine a light on the people that are dealing with that sin and make it a big deal. And over again, Jesus is like, no, face your own sin. My encouragement for you is to face your own sin. And when you face your sin, name it. Write it out. Speak it out loud. Share it with someone who's trusted. Or just in your prayer time, say it out loud. Like, God, this is my sin. And my sin grieves your heart, God. And my sin is creating shrapnel that is hurting me and people connected to me, whether they know it or not. In 1 John chapter 1, John writes these powerful words. He says, if we confess our sin, we will be forgiven. If we confess, we will be purified from all unrighteousness. See, that's confession. Face it and name it. And name it out loud. Write it out. The big sin that you know is there. And what is that other sin that's lurking around that always is just kind of rearing its head? And then you got to claim it. Claim what? God's forgiveness. Some of you are just living your life just consumed with guilt. And God's saying to you, no, my grace is sufficient. Some of you have just guilt just pulsing through your veins from something you did decades ago. And God's like, no, my grace has covered that. And you got to claim God's grace. It's why Jesus got on a cross to take on your sin and my sin. When you name Jesus the subject of your life, your sins are wiped clean. Your sins. But Jesus doesn't stop there. He goes, hey, ask God to forgive our debts. Yeah, we should do that. But then Jesus goes, there's another part. He goes, as we also have forgiven our debtors. I mean, Jesus just makes an assumption. Hey, we're going to forgive other people. That's the assumption. Jesus is like, hey, you are going to forgive other people. And I'm not talking the easy people to forgive. I'm talking, well, you know, right now, there's a name that you have right now that you just know you don't want to forgive. You don't want to. Or maybe there's two names. Or maybe you have a list of names. Jesus knew this was going to be an issue. And so what he did was, I think he kind of paused as he's teaching us how to pray. And all of a sudden he realized, hey, I got to come back to this. So he comes back to it and he goes, for if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you don't forgive others their sins, and think about the gravity of this, your Father will not forgive your sins. Now, don't miss what Jesus is saying, because it would be easy to read those words and go, oh, now I have to work for forgiveness. No. Jesus did the work. He died on the cross. He paid the price. And so Jesus doesn't say, yeah, you got to work for forgiveness. That's not what he's saying. This is what Jesus is saying. And I just want you to walk through a thought process with me. The more you grasp your sin, again, 1 John 1:9, confess, face it, name it. Your sin, not anyone else's sin. No, you. The more you grasp your sin that's breaking God the Father's heart, your sin that's hurting you, your sin that's hurting people connected to you, your sin. The more you grasp your sin, the more you grasp God's grace. I'm just telling you. It's easy to point out everyone else's sin. And when you do that, you're not owning yours. And the more you face your sin, the more you name it, the more you'll grasp God's grace. And the more you grasp God's grace, guess what? The more you'll grasp his love. Our Father, a dad who loves you, who wants the best for you. And the more you grasp God's love, the more you'll extend that love to others. That's why Jesus said, love your enemies. Love them. Love the people that have hurt you the deepest. Love the people who have betrayed you. Love the people who lied to you. Love the people who stab you in the back. Love the people that gossip about you. Love the people who pulled a power play. Love the people who. I'm telling you, the more you face your sin and grasp God's grace and his love for you and your sin, that's when you will be able to start to extend that love and that forgiveness to those people who have hurt you the deepest. Who do you need to forgive? Who do you need to forgive? Because remember, if you don't forgive, bitterness takes root. And once bitterness is rooted, it impacts every relationship you have, including your relationship with God the Father. Who do you need to forgive? Jesus said, give us today our daily bread. And Forgive us our debts as we also have forgiven our debtors. And then he ends with this. He goes, and lead us not into temptation. God will give you an out. What temptation is in front of you? What addiction is haunting you? What is that obstacle in front? Just know that God will lead you and deliver you from the evil one. I mean, this world we know is a broken, dark, evil place. And God is our guide. You see, I think about this final section of the Lord's Prayer. The amazing thing it reminds me is this, that God provides. God provides. The question you and I must ask ourselves, will I ask? Will I seek? Will I knock? And trust that God will provide. Maybe in the most unexpected of ways. And maybe part of that journey is a whole lot of seeking and a whole lot of knocking. But along the way, God's going to connect your story with someone else's story because God is working through their life as well. And God wants them to ask and seek and knock. And then together, all of a sudden, God's like, hey, this is my unexpected path for you. Second thing is God forgives. Question you got to ask yourself is, will you forgive others? It's a question I have to ask myself all the time. But Chris, okay, God forgives me, but will I forgive? Fill in the blank. That person who has hurt me deeply, will you forgive that person who has hurt you deeply? Remember, the more you grasp your sin, the more you will grasp God's grace. And the more you'll grasp God's grace, the more you'll grasp his love. And the more you grasp his love, the more you'll extend that love to everyone. Will you forgive? And the last one, God guides. Will you follow? Will you follow? See, when you follow in God's steps, you have to trust and you have to obey. And when you do, you're going to experience God to do the unexpected in your life. And God will provide in ways beyond your expectation. You see, God is a good Father. He cares for you. He forgives you. And he leads you. He's a good Father. So rest in that truth. Hold on tight to him. And my prayer is it gives you hope. No matter how difficult life might get, that you'll hold on to him. Let me pray for you. Lord, I just ask that every single person will know how good of a Father you are, how you care for us, your unending forgiveness for us, and your deep desire to guide us. Lord, I just pray that every single person will know. And Lord, I pray that we will lean into you. That we'll listen to you. That we'll continue to walk steps of faith, trusting and obeying because you are our good Father. In your name I pray. Amen.